question, do we have to sign 200 letters?
Yes. That's your signature. Personalized.
I'll give you a
Okay,
stick.
anyone else have anything to bring up about the,
I've got one thing, at East Side up there, you know, they got the new gymnasium up there. And it takes a poll watcher to stand at the door and unlock the door when they have school.
Well, next election, school should be out
Next election.
I know, but
in
I looked
November.
the situation over up there. There's plenty of room from where you go into the school building back to the corner where you go into the gym. They've got these mesh or wire,
Flexible.
yeah, that they can pull out and lock there. And on election day, if school is going on, to prevent,
Security.
for security purposes. and
Are we gonna
everything.
run into a problem the next big election that school's still?
hey,
No.
let me,
School will be closed in August.
when I was running with Chief Buck, riding with Chief Buck was.
I'm talking about November.
They're close to November.
They're closed in November.
He brought up an excellent point, I think, is that in some of these schools, when they're closing schools, generally speaking, there's either a town hall or a church that has a, what do they call it? Fellowship halls. Can we not talk to some, I know that some of those churches would be more than acceptable to do that. That way they don't have to close school. We don't have to go begging for the school. People that signed froze to death. I went by there, I think Chief Buck was with me. Yeah, we went by there and they were cold. They put them down in the cafeteria, which was smaller. At Valley Forge, the lady told us that, and they were cold. So the heat comes on, they get warm, and it blows cold air, and they got cold, and they're sitting up there in jackets quivering. Maybe if we, and I don't care to go to some of these churches that are close by and see about using their fellowship. I mean, it would be perfect. That way some people find out where the church is. You go to these churches and speak to them about using the fellowship. Tell the school board. We need to go.
How about the legality of it? We're gonna run
Yeah,
into any problems
The
with
mix and
the
the
state?
Yeah,
We
church
sure
and
will.
religion,
yeah.
religion and,
Politics,
Yeah.
Some of the churches have wine in them and stuff, so it's,
Yeah.
well, I won't go to that church then, but my four kids, they might.
find out. Bring us back an opinion. We are having some issues with the schools.
Well, I know when they closed the Lynn Avenue School precinct, they moved it to the Methodist Church there for a while.
Yes, they did, down in the basement.
Well, now they vote.
I vote
I think they
in
vote.
Sullivan County, and the precinct I go to is Ketron Memorial United Methodist Church,
Are you
so,
in the fellowship hall,
yeah.
is it? So I guess that's not a problem
Find out
with the
legally.
Methodists.
Find out
And,
legally.
and I know in Washington County, a lot of their precincts are church fellowship halls,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, they
But the thing about it would be, if I voted East Side, and then I go to East Side School to vote, and they're not there, they're over at the Free Will Baptist Church.
Well, that's a publication, you know, we got to
Yeah.
get the word out to
Yeah.
them.
Well, down there, T.A. Duggar across the road, they've got a big fellowship, you know where.
Calvary.
Calvary, that's where I go to church. I'm quite sure that they would welcome that. They welcome students there and other groups. that
And it's
come
air
around.
conditioned too. I know in the August election at the Yap Creek precinct and at Happy Valley Elementary Gym down there, they don't have any air conditioning in there. One year I went up to the high school and brought these giant fans down there just to circulate some air in there, and the workers was actually exhausted in there from working in the heat.
Well, when Chief Buck was, I was on the fifth, Bud came in up there at Valley Forge last year, hot time, hot day. They had fans and they were begging for more fans.
Okay, they suggested that in August, if they could go directly down the gym, through the first door on the left and into the cafeteria or the room on the left there and vote, all of that was air conditioned, and they wouldn't be, if they voted there
Listen,
in August.
if we can't, you know, we may have to go back to some of the, find out the legalities of that. If we can go to a fellowship hall, Masonic lodge, somewhere. I don't think we would, Masonic lodge, somewhere, you know.
For this election cycle year,
Yes, we gotta get, we'll have to get busy. There's no use dragging feet.
we'll not be dragging our feet.
Not
I'm
you.
talking
I'm
about
talking
the, getting everybody set, we gotta start working now, getting everybody separated in their districts. Because we gave out petitions and stuff for the different Senate and House districts, which, by speaking of that, a letter came from the state Republican Party yesterday that Camp Williams has to run independent again.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with where people go to vote.
Do you think anybody else in the state utilizes other buildings? I mean, besides the
Some
school?
of them in Washington County uses churches.
Yes, sir.
And
And
that's what he was saying, Sullivan County did too. There's a problem, I'm sure there's not a problem with that.
I know when I worked in Johnson City, firehouse over there, they used churches throughout the city. They were different.
At one time, they used, the fire hall at Pinecrest to vote in with
Yes, they
but
did.
then they moved it back to the
Well, you
elementary.
know, we can even touch a firehouse. You know, if we can't get a church firehouse, I know.
What's that up there, that mill?
That's firehouse.
Firehouse.
Volunteer fire department.
There you go. And Tracy,
From Augustine.
all right. Now, let's check into that, and I'd be more than willing to go, if as many wants to go, to talk to these people, perhaps, you know, call them on the phone or something, in a church or a firehouse close to where the school is. See if we can't utilize their building for one day. Most churches probably want to come on Sunday, you know, just
Well, where do they hold the city election in the fifth up there? They hold it at Martindale or do they hold it
At the school.
at the school? They've got a big up there at Martindale pool. They've got a big recreation, or it's not a recreation, it's just, you know, kind of a supply room and everything. But on a city election, most of the people live right there, probably turn more voters out right there in the community to vote.
Well, that would be up to the Washington
Yeah.
County interim administrators. Is that city
You're
council?
probably gonna have to look at the issue, if you've got enough, if you're moving certain buildings, you've got enough sockets to plug your machine stuff into, you can get them.
Getting the whole-
Yeah, most of those churches over there, especially fellowship halls, does have animals and so forth. Just a thought. Going back to East Side School, when I was there, this lady came in and she said she was glad it was in the gymnasium because she has a back problem, she cannot climb the steps.
Well, it has to be on level because of the handicap.
They have to be, every polling place has to be handicap accessible. There's a big checklist that you've got to go by. The doors have to be so much wide and all that.
Okay, let's look into that, and I don't care to take that on, along with some other folks to check it out around the neighborhood. And again, even the firehouses or the church fellowship halls, so we can move on, okay. Now, let's get down to the budget draft. Tracy, the budget. Oh, wait a minute. Certification of election. We need to do that. Certify the election.
You and I sign the top, and then you want to start signing
I
here.
got black.
Me and you sign this one only, and then you want to start signing here, send them around.
And even the truck is there, damn, they need cleaning.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna send this around, each one of us. Each one of us has to sign these, and I'll send it right on. And what is this, Tracy?
That is That's the Democrat presidential preference primary, that has to go to the state Democrat party, this is the Republican, and that has to go to the Republican party. Then we gotta give one to Mary and one to the coordinator's office and one as members.
Don't mind. Thank you. I'll use one of Miller's.
Sign this certificate.
Yes, it does. Did you sign the bottom ones too?
Which button?
Underneath there?
Huh? Is there more than one copy? More than one there? More than whichever sheet's not, you gotta sign it again. Don't send it back around.
What, there's more than
What, in the back of it, Trey?
It's
that
clipped
one?
together.
Are there another place to sign back?
No, it's clipped together, that one's right.
Okay. All right. Mr. Miller.
There's one that ain't got the one signature on mine going on it.
Every place with a clip, we gotta sign it.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think this gets you bad, what, we sign them 200 letters?
You do it on your days off. If it comes to and you sign it, just move on.
Well, I'm just trying to keep that together.
That's up to you.
The county Republican primary, who's the county Democrat? One's there.
That's the Democrat presidential primary, or whatever.
You'll sign, one of these, I'll sign them.
When I sign it. What is this?
That is the certification of absentee ballot from each person who voted from the precinct.
That's my application for a $50,000 loan.
What is this?
Same thing.
Sign it too?
Have we got any kind of figure on how much election costs us yet?
I'm still working on that, because all this stuff hadn't come in yet, so probably, what I've got so far is,
That's all right,
so far, it's roughly about 57,000.
It's 7,000.
Roughly, it may be more or
We still got
less.
2 to go.
Yeah, that's just for one election.
Anyway, but the state reimburses.
Yeah.
Not all of them. We got to
Yeah,
get the president,
they-
yeah, the state, yeah,
The presidential preference primary.
yeah, that one, they do.
We'll have to pay for the August election, right?
Yeah, we'll have to pay for the rest of them. Just the presidential preference primary is the only one that they reimburse us for.
Looks
How
like
come we
they
don't do it on the other?
looks like the other one would be, since it's a state primary.
Same thing? You guys send this around again?
Just keep up the good work.
You just have to go out and certify to them.
How come we can't use that stamp? Huh?
You want to use the stamp?
Yeah, on them 200 left.
Oh, yeah, I was struggling about that. That's why I have a color printer.
Hey, when you write that letter up, very listen.
I'm gonna start doing my signature, putting a dab in there, going, then
I'm putting,
S.
I'm putting military signature. Nobody can
While you are doing that, an update about the request to Mr. Humphrey about using Facebook was denied.
Yeah, I had that on my list of understandings, Gracie, and why was it?
I asked him if we could use the Facebook, take the block off of Facebook so that we could use it for the younger generation and to recruit election workers and put on there different dates. I still use it on my personal one at home. I still put the dates of the election and registration deadlines and stuff, but he denied it. He said, I appreciate your concerns and the need to actively engage in our youth in the local civic process. Toward that end of the county has invested a considerable amount of time and resources in developing the cartercountytn.gov domain, and he wants us to use that.
What does that mean?
That means I can't, he wants us to use the county's website instead of the free communication tools like LinkedIn and Facebook instead.
So what does that cost each department to use the county website?
I don't know how much it costs.
Was it excused that
Took
it
out the
was
general
being
fund.
misused? Is that what the issue?
Yeah, that,
How-
he said.
How do you prove that it's been misused? I mean, how do you, does he gain his?
He said Facebook and LinkedIn have been blocked due to countless violation of the internet policy.
Well, do we know that to be a fact, or just taking what he said?
But I don't know that to be a fact.
Can we get a copy of the policy?
Yeah, I've got a copy of the policy.
Is this a control issue or what is it?
I don't know because I don't know what the violations have been.
Well, maybe if he comes into one of our meetings, we can face it. Choose not to.
Get him to give us the big,
I think he told Tracy that he'd come to the meeting and explain that, didn't he?
No, he said, where I said I communicated with the election coordinator on there, different administrators from 95 counties. He said if he would gladly have a meeting with me and the coordinator of elections if needed.
Yeah.
And that's Mark Goins?
Yeah,
Well, hell, set it up.
I don't know if he'll come all the way down here for that.
Well, they do the teleconference.
Yeah.
I mean, is anybody else complaining, I mean, not complaining, facing this issue besides you, Tracy, or some of the other officers?
It's been blocked throughout the whole county internet, I believe.
It looks to me like that you gotta have a password to get on.
That's why I asked him if he'd take the block off the election office so that we could use that to get out to the younger generation.
And it looks to me like if I send something out on Facebook and I have to log my number in, open it up,
You do have to have password.
then he can go back and see who the violators are. Anyway, invite him to the next election, let's